Lorenza Nicole Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen, Lorena. Not Lorena. Lorenza. Y'all, I'm tired. Mm-mm-mm. Lorena Mariposa Negra. I heard that in English and not Spanish, so I thought I was saying something else. Anyway, um, I like my water bottle. Well, anyway, um, how have you guys been this week? How are you guys doing? You doing good? This has been so far an interesting week, and it's interesting that it's only Wednesday. You know, um, oh, hold on, this keeps bumping. Let me move it back just a little bit. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay. Um, it's interesting that um it's only Wednesday. I saw this meme today that said, "Man, this has been one heck of a week, one heck of a year this week." um, I think that's kind of accurate. I think for me, there's been a lot of truth and honesty and accountability in my face this week, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about truth, accountability, and things of that nature. Um, so I guess the title to this would be No Shortcuts. Um, no shortcuts. there's there's a lot of things that um let me say it like this. Let me restart. No shortcuts. And the reason why I say that is because we're now in a place where if we want certain things to be and certain things to happen, we have to face those things that never that we're never were able to either address before or deal with. And I'm not talking about like obvious things that you may know about. I'm talking about the things that you kind of live with. You It's subconscious but conscious, you never really speak on. It's the instead of the elephant in the room, it's the elephant inside of you, inside your thought. It's there, but you have learned to live around it. It's the bush you learn to mow around but never cut. It's those things that you have learned to live with, handicaps that you feel like you have in life, and things you've accepted a part of your identity that are not necessarily truly a part of your identity. It was just that you were lacking the support, the teaching or the knowledge in something, and you either didn't have an outlet or time, or you just completely were discouraged from pursuing something or learning something for yourself. But there's no shortcuts to this. I want to talk about this from a creative person's perspective and maybe an administrative person's perspective, because some of us are both administrative and some of us are creative and some of us are middle brain. We have a gift for an aptitude for business, and gift for in creativity and talents and things like that outside of that. Um, but talent comes in either space. It comes in either space. It's not just creativity. Talent can show up in ingenuity, being able to see patterns in things that other people don't see patterns in, business, those things. But I digress. As a creative person, um, growing up, being creative and things like that, and I love science. I love, certain things. I love biology. I love things like that. I love art. I love music. But I really, gravitated to the creative side. And I liked math up until like fifth grade. And then it got hard. And this is something that a lot of young girls deal with. It gets difficult to stay with math. It's not, and there's this stereotype on little girls and women that we're not good with math. It's not that we're not good with math. It's just that the wiring in our brain starts happening sooner, and we need encouragement when it comes to that. We often teach our boys to be hustlers or to be businessmen or to go get them. We teach our girls differently sometimes. I mean, some of us are intentionally trying to teach our girls to, go get it. And we have seen an increase of women in science and in math. But when I was growing up, it wasn't always encouraged. It was just, oh, well, she's a girl. It's probably more difficult for her. Um, uh, you know, because math does require some form of logic. And girls tend to be more like, not that we don't have our own sense of logic and men don't have their own, or boys don't have their own intuition, because they do. Men have intuition too. It's just different than women's. And it doesn't, it just doesn't look like ours, but they do have it. Just like we have our own form of logic. It's just that one of us is more prone to leaning on our logic, and one is more prone to leaning on our intuition. Well, girls, we're going to think outside the box. Maybe ask a lot more questions about this, or why is that? And if you're not encouraged to lean on your logic, or to dive further into something when you start having challenges, because we're supposed to mature faster in one way. I don't think girls mature faster in every way, but we mature faster in certain ways. And because of that, sometimes things that draw a challenge to us, we may feel like we want to back off on or whatever. We're not as encouraged in society to keep pushing, if anything. But men are not necessarily, I don't want to say encouraged, they're just expected. And that's a whole nother story, to just be expected to show up in a certain way. So I say all that to say is that as a creative young girl, loving math at first and then not loving math and then only caring about math when it had to do with my money. Okay, hello? You okay, all of us, okay. Are like that, yes. But not having that encouragement, and being bypassed, and not having anybody have an expectation of me because I'm female or I'm a girl, whatever, or even, sometimes race and culture and nationality and stuff takes a role in those things. But growing up as a creative person and not being encouraged to lean on my intelligence, or my ability to my ability for critical thinking or anything like that, you know not really being expected to show up in that space, either because I was a girl, black, or because people saw I had an interest in this, or they did not think they did not encourage me in those things, especially in school. And so sometimes we grow up with bad habits. We grow up, anytime we're challenged in a certain area, we don't address it. We begin to think, oh, that's just the way it is for me. I've never been good at this. I've never been good at math. I've never been good at, fill in a blank. I've never been good at blank. And you never expect it to change until you are in a place in your adult life, and now you have to deal with the thing that no one ever wanted to teach you, that no one ever wanted to take time to make sure you understood or encourage you in. And that is one of the hardest things to do, is to grow up late. To grow up late, to have to learn fundamental things that you were supposed to learn as a child, or fundamental things that you needed to use in society, and we're not given to you for whatever reason. And now you're being faced with it. And if you keep, and this is the thing, like, if you have a strong ability to lean on your creative side, and that's how you've made it through life. You know how some people like, oh, you're just making it through life off your looks. You're not trying to use your brain. You're not trying to use anything. You just use your body and your looks to get what you want, and that's it. That's all you know how to do. Well, sometimes that's like that with creative people. Sometimes that's like that with administrative people. Depending on where your strong suit is, sometimes that's what you lean on so heavy, and you don't want to recognize your weaknesses. You try to address everything from that space, and you know, if you can't do something in that space, you're like, oh, it's just not for me, or you try to make everybody bend to that, or bend to it, or you get overwhelmed and frustrated, and you don't want to talk about it because really inside you feel very insecure, and you do not feel adequate or capable, or you don't feel like you can do it, you know. And so it's a deep, dark secret inside that you have shame. You have shame because you're not good at something. And so you don't ever want to address it. You just want to lean on what you're good at. Naturally, if you're walking and one foot hurts, you're going to want to lean on that one a little bit more than the one that does. But when you do that, it's noticeable that you have a limp. And if you stay in that box and you don't give yourself an opportunity to stretch your new muscles or heal, or spread your wings and fly, if you don't give yourself that opportunity, you will miss out on a lot more. And so my challenge for everybody is to don't take a shortcut. This week I've noticed that this week, the lesson I've been seeing in this week is that don't become an incompetent person. Don't become incompetent. Don't. Let me use it like this. I knew somebody there was somebody I worked with on some projects, and they asked me to help them work on a website, and not full website, a web page. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I help and everything. And the thing that they wanted from me was to make some of the videos for their website and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I came and I wanted to sit down with them and discuss and all that stuff. And they didn't want to do any of that. They was like, no, you just take creative direction. I just want to, do blah, blah, blah. You shoot freely, and you just I trust your judgment, take creative free liberty. And I was like, are you sure? Because this is yours. This is not mine. I don't have the vision for it. I'm going to do it my way if you let me do it my way, and you can't complain about it. They was like, no, go ahead. I was like, okay, because once I'm done, I'm done. I'm not going back to change it. I'm not doing it. This is the deal. And they was like, yeah. I was like, so you don't want me to come by? You don't want to check? You don't want to look at my progress to have any opinions? They was like, no. Just shoot, edit, and that's what we're going to do. Or whatever. And I was like, okay, but I also told them, I don't have all, the supplies that I would like. I'm working with limited supplies, so it's going to take me a while. And they were like, okay, cool. They hounded me after I shot the video, after I shot all the stuff. I was like, look, I'm still working on this stuff. Do you want to see? No. I'm like, okay. But you said I got creative liberty. I'm working on this. You can't see the progress because you didn't want to be a part of it. You can't hound me. Remember our deal? Okay. I need it up because my website, my website, my web page, whatever, it's supposed to be up, and I need it up, and da 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 da. And I was like, I know you need it. And the way they were talking to me had me going, like, made me think that, other people that they were working with were waiting on my video to put it up so they can launch the site or the page or whatever. And they were like, okay, like, I really need you to hurry up, and that impressing me. And so I finished it and everything. And then they had a problem with the video, and they was like, can we do it again? I was like, no, because no, We cannot do it again. I already told you A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, all the way to elemental P, Q, R, X, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. I told you everything. Okay. Clearly. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. And I was like, okay, so you're gonna put it up. They're like, yeah, I just got to create the website first. I just got to create the website first. Wait a minute. You have me thinking you are all about your business and you got this to do and got that to do and time is of the essence and I need that up now. And you were talking to me with this sense of urgency and you were pressing me a little bit more than you had liberty to, because by the way, this was a pro bono thing. This was I'm helping you out kind of thing. So you didn't really have no money to give me. But this is what we kind of did. We would do TFP, trade, for a project for a trade. We'll help each other because, we're starting out in a lot of things. We all had different talents. So I help you with your project. You help me with mine. But at the same time, chill. So you mean to tell me this whole time you were pressing me to get something done and completed, and you were giving me the illusion that you had something waiting on me when really you weren't even prepared to take the video up that you complained about, that you didn't want have anything to do with. You're starting to sound very lazy. You're starting to sound very like incompetent. When you lead people on to make them to believe that you have an ability or something going on for you, when you lead people to believe that you are capable of something, and that and you lead them on to make them think work wise that this is how this is going to be, just to find out that they don't even know the first thing about a website or a web page. They didn't even know the difference. A web page is a page and a website is a whole entire site. It has many pages, and you don't even have it ready. Like, well, I just want to do it. I just want to put it up today. I was like, do you understand that you have to take time to create a website, even if you're doing it through where it's user friendly. If you're not, leaning on HTML or any computer science or any computer language, I mean, if you're even computer friendly, you still have to take time. That takes time. I've put my own website together before. That stuff takes time. That's not something you can just do in a day. You want a whole website? And I just told him, I said, I will never make another video for you again. You had me thinking that everything else was done and you needed, and now you want me to help you put the website together? You clearly don't know what goes into all of this, and you had me thinking something completely different. This is what I mean by leaning on creative ability. She had all this creativity and all these things that she could do, but she didn't want to be a part of the process of editing or putting together or putting the dream together because she wasn't really good with video. Not understanding the fact that, I'm helping you. This is why you asked me to help you. But that's not what she was strong in. She just wanted me to do it for her. She just wanted to do all her parts in the video, and then and that's it. She didn't want any other part in anything concerning her own project, which should have been my red flag. That should have been my red flag, let's be honest. But we all make our mistakes. Okay. That should have been my red flag. But you're fussing at me about something that you're already not giving me actual cash for. Let's be clear. And you're not even ready yourself. The audacity. And this is why it's so important to be willing to grow. If you only lean on your one talent or your gift over here and you don't grow, you may hype everybody up and give them a false an illusion of you're more than what you present. See, there is something called imposter syndrome, and then there's something just called inadequate. Imposter syndrome is you actually have the skill and the talent. You're just you're being put in a position where there's people who have had probably more experience in something than you, but you are still qualified technically because of your ability, not because of your training or where you've been, but because of your ability, your intention, and your good work ethic. You're still qualified for the job. You're still qualified to for that position. You're still qualified not by what they think you're qualified, but you're probably overqualified because of how well you work your gift and how competent you actually are as a person. Believe me, the illusion of there's a lot of people talking about being professional and things that are just not professional. There's so much more unprofessional antics going on than professional things going on. Okay. And I say all this because I believe that if we really want the dream, if we really want the things that we are working towards and that we feel like it's supposed to be ours, we have to be willing to face the hard facts. Some things we're not good at. Some things we're not good at. We're not good at, dealing, certain things because of traumas and emotional traumas. And that's okay. It's okay not to be perfect at everything. The problem is when you try to lead people on to make them think you are, or even if you lie to yourself and try to tell yourself, oh yeah, I can do this, that, and the other, and then you feel the sense of inadequacy and imposter syndrome come all over you when maybe you actually could do the job, but you have to be honest about your strengths and weaknesses so that people will know how to work with you instead of setting yourself up into a box or a level of expectation that you cannot provide. Look, I can do this, but I'm not strong in this area quite yet. That's something I'm working on. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't set yourself up for expectations, and then when people get mad at you because you don't deliver, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to take accountability. And I say this, and this is crazy because this can be in business, and this sounds like business right now, but that's the example I wanted to use. But this is just in life, okay? If as a person, if I want to do more than what I've been doing, and it's going to require a part of me that I've never used before, I can't keep going after it with what I was strong in. Because let's face it, have you ever had like that favorite pair of jeans or that one shirt that you really love that you wish you would have got it in other colors, and you were just trying something out that day, like I'm gonna try this shirt out. If I like, I'm gonna come back, and you came back, you don't even remember the name of that shirt. That tag fell off. You just like, man, I don't remember the name of that shirt. And now that shirt's wore out. Them pants are wore out, and you wish you had another pair. That's how we do our gifts. We have all these clothes in the closet that we need to, size put on and see if we can fit into them and all that stuff. But we want to keep wearing the same favorite t-shirt and jeans over and over again. Eventually it wears out. Eventually you can't even function inside of what you're good at in the same way because you have put way more weight on that part of you than was necessary. You've leaned so much on that. You keep trying to find ways to get around what you really have to face. And that's the things that were never given to you. You have to face it. You have to face if you feel bad about something. You have to face that. You have to face if you may lack understanding in the area. And you have to face it in a way to where it's like you're not putting yourself down. You're just saying, you know what, I'm not quite sure about this. And then because when you face that, you have to then after that, accept that it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to be in a place where you have to learn again. It's okay that you didn't get what you were supposed to get when you were a kid or when you were a young adult. It's okay that you learning some things that you should have learned as a child now. And you don't need to be ashamed of that. But when you lie and you make people think you have it all together when you don't, and you lie to yourself, you set yourself up to feel bad. And then that lets the enemy to come in and make you feel like you are inadequate and that you should have imposter syndrome, when this whole time you were the person for the job, but you didn't let them know the person you were. You let them believe you were somebody else. It's important to tell yourself the truth. There's no way to get around this. There's no way to get around it. If you want better in life, you're going to have to face the things that hurt you. You're going to have to face what you don't like. You're going to have to face the things that make you feel bad and insecure about yourself so that you can get past that. Because if you keep avoiding it, the very door you have to walk through to get all those things is a door of acceptance, accepting that this hurt, accepting that I'm not that great in this area and I need to be better, accepting those things. And I tell you that because this is what I had to deal with this week. Maybe not in business, but I had to deal with it in personal life. Like, for me to, which does trickle over into business, for me to go forward in believing, I had to really face the fact, I had to face my disbelief that was birthed in my ability to do certain things in my childhood. And what's required of me are those skills now. And it's like, well, I don't know if I can, because I never could see how well I did before, because no one ever gave me the chance or the opportunity. But now God is doing it, and you're like, I don't want to face it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a part of that. And the only way to get to the other side is to cross the bridge of weak points, broken places, and accept the ugly truth. Not that you're inadequate, but that you're insecure and that you hurt and that this is hard for you to believe in yourself and that you're dealing with some self-doubt. And it's in the stem and where it stems from, because it stayed with you. It stayed with you. It's not what you talk about, but it stayed with you. It stayed with you since 6th grade. It stayed with you since 7th grade. It stayed with you since you were 16. You maybe you don't feel like you can work. You feel like you can't do certain jobs because now you feel like, well, maybe I'm just too old for that. Maybe, I just need to stick to what I'm good at because I'm too old to learn old dogs can't learn new tricks. No, that's not really true. I know it's supposed to be true, but I have a dog that is an older dog, and I trained her. You know why she was receptible? Because it was a new environment and she felt loved. So she took she followed in. She had to learn what's acceptable in this environment. This is not where I'm from. This is not what I'm used to. But she learned, then she does better than some of these rock-headed puppies. We have to face our insecurities so that we can actually be who we're supposed to be. Those insecurities were given to you. But don't deny yourself the opportunity to really experience yourself in a more full way by hiding your insecurities and leaning on only your strengths or the things that you only think you're strong in. And then so much to the point that you're in so much denial that you become an unreliable person because you're leading people on to believe something about you that's not true. There is no shortcuts to greatness. You have to face the truth. There's no shortcuts. You have to go through the muddy muck of the heart. There is no shortcuts. You have to deal with the lies that have been deep embedded in your head. And see, this is what's crazy. Some of those lies you thought you already dealt with, but there's layers to this stuff sometimes. You're like, oh my God, I didn't know I was still having any doubt. I know. Let me tell you, this past weekend and week, I've realized I has I ugly cried, y'all. I'm gonna just tell y'all, I ugly cried this week several times. Several times. Several times. I ugly cried. Like, I didn't know there were some things that were still in my heart, and not even like anger. But sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's unforgiveness. But usually those things are covering up the original hurt. The level of self-doubt that I uncovered in my heart this week, I just was like, realize how much I have been telling myself I believe that I can do this or I can do that, and I really wasn't believing. I'm not interested in faking it till I make it anymore. I want to be for real and make it. Okay? Like I don't want to just keep telling myself, "Oh yeah, I can do this. I got this." Yeah, but on paper, yeah, I probably should be telling myself that technically. I mean, and that's why sometimes when we go by, well, on paper, I'm good. But what about on spirit? What about on heart? What about on mind? Are you? Is your capacity there? Or is there something that triggers you when you start facing this area and you bail out and you try to get somebody else to do it? You. I mean, because that's the thing. That's where your voice is, and you don't even realize it. That's where your voice is, and whatever thing hurt you so bad has been silencing you. God showed me where I've been silent for too long. Where I've been silent. I didn't even realize I was living in a dead zone. Have you ever put something over your ears and it felt like the air cupped around your ear and all you couldn't hear anything, but you could see everything around you. And it was deadening. It was just I couldn't. It's like God was showing me where I couldn't hear anything. I was just seeing everything, like, because I needed to use my voice. I had the ability to hear, but I wasn't using my own voice. I needed to speak to break the barrier in my own life. And it wasn't in the most typical way where it's like I'm doing now, like I'm talking, but it was just like the pain that makes me silent, the pain that makes me crawl into myself, that I have been living with for so long, that it just seems like it's me. It just seems like just what I do. It just seems that's. But if you really look at that, you're not as happy as you could be. And it's blocking your way to your happiness. It's blocking your way to your greatness. It's in your path. It's a hurdle. But let me tell you something. Hurdles can be leaped over. But that's what they're meant to do, to be leaped over. But you know what you also can do with a hurdle? If you can't leap it, you can pick that thing up and chunk it and move it out your way. It's there, but it can be moved. It can be moved. But you have to face it because it's in the path. There's no way around this. There's no other door to go through. I hate to tell you, but that thing that made your that's in your heart, that you have no words for, but you feel it every day. It's why you hesitate to do things. It affects the way that you move. That thing that has no sound. It has no language. It just is existing and taking up space in your world rent free. It has the audacity to sit there, but you got to push it out. You got to start speaking. Open up your mouth and say, I don't feel good in about something. I don't know what it is. If you got to go to therapy, I guess, you know what I'm saying, to help find language for what's going on in your own heart, then yeah, it is not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's possible. It's possible. And and there is just no way around it, guys. There's no shortcuts. There's no quick fix. You have to face it. One of the things is like, I know like some of us have weight issues or some type of health issue, and we just live with it and we just try to get around it and everything. But at the end of the day, for life to really change, you got to deal with what's going on. You have to You can't be passive about this. You can't be passive aggressive about this. You can't be so embarrassed. You can't continue to let it embarrass you when it's the thing that is irrelevant. It never was your identity. And this is the kicker. It never was your weakness. It's actually masking itself, telling you that you're weak in this area. But let me tell you something. Your muscles can still work even when they're weaker. Like, I'm not a bodybuilder. And right now, I can't lift my own weight like that. You know what I'm saying? I can probably lift myself enough, but not in a way I probably should be able to if it was an emergency situation. Do you hear what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean my arms don't work. It doesn't mean I can't build them up. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily weak. It's just that that's something that I would have to train to do. And if you're going to be called to do something in this life and it's calling you to use certain muscles you've never used before, don't sit here and tell you, oh, well, that's not my strong point. Nothing is nobody's strong point sometimes. Like, everybody got to exercise. Even when you have gifts and certain things come easy to you, in order for you to harness that gift appropriately and utilize it the right way, you need to have structures in place. And you may not good at structures, but you have to have those structures in place so that you know how to do it. All these artists that be out here singing and stuff, they have vocal coaches. Yes, they already have the talent, so it makes it easier than it would for somebody who just isn't gifted. It would be very difficult for them to just learn to hold a note. But they still have to have training so that they can deal with, all the traveling and demands that are going to be on their body and not lose their voice, how to take care of their own body, to not even lose their own voice in the process of all those things. Yeah, they can sing. They could always sing. Were they good at touring and singing? Probably not at first. But they had to be willing to face that challenge because it was calling them to they had a calling to go and tour and do those things. So now they have to exercise a space in them that they never trained for because no one taught them how to do this. And they may be scared and it may be overwhelming, but it doesn't mean it's not for them to do. And I need you to look at the things that you feel you're weak in like this. Just because you're not the top tier person, um, gifted or whatever you think, does not mean you are weak in it. It just means that you may have an ability, but you have not exercised your muscles to intentionally towards that ability. And know that when you exercise, we know it always hurts. And the reason why exercising hurts is because every time you lift a muscle, you stretch your muscles. For your muscles to grow, they have to tear a little bit and then they swell and grow. They grow. They have to tear a little bit, then they grow. It's the way a muscle works. You have to be willing to be stretched a little bit to grow, and you have to be willing to be stretched in a place where you thought you were weak. You're not where you want to be at, maybe, but it doesn't mean you don't have the ability. And we can't keep identifying with if you're strong or weak. That's too black and white. The truth is, do you have the ability? One of the things I tell my sons all the time is, like, it's not about what you know. It's about if you can learn. Like, you can know a whole lot of things about a whole lot of things. But the fact of the matter is, we're never going to know everything. So working on your listening skills and your ability to learn, working on your critical thinking, working on paying attention to what's around you, working on using wisdom, and not always just jumping because you think you know. Making sure that you know and that you're not just thinking you know. A lot of people live by I think, I thought, maybe. Don't live by that. Live by I checked it out. I researched it. I saw what it took. I saw where I was. I saw what I was going to have to do to achieve this. So I made a plan in order to be able to do the thing, because first I didn't know what to do. So what I'm going to do is look up what I'm supposed to do and what's needed for this job. Hey, then I'm going to look at my life and how my life is set up and what things I would have to change in order to meet the requirements for this job. So in order to meet the requirements, I have to change these things. Okay, now that I know that, how am I going to change these things? What are the first steps I need to take? What are the first things I need to take out of my life? What are the first habits I need to start addressing so that I can begin to change the things so that I can set myself up to be in position to do the job? This is what you have to be. I do not want my sons going into this world being ashamed of what they don't know, being ashamed of what somebody didn't teach them, being ashamed of feeling like they don't have have everything it takes. You don't have. It's not always about what you know. It's about your ability to learn and your willingness to do so. I want them to know that as long as you're willing to learn, you can do it. You may not you may not be as great as somebody else. You may not be as creative in this area as somebody else, but some things are a means to an end. They're not your whole identity. So be a student of life. I am clear. When my kids ask me a question, I am not super mom. Okay, let me tell you something right now. I'm not finna be super mom. I will not put myself in that box. I tell them the truth. They be like, Mom, what's this? I'm like, baby, I don't even know. I don't know what that is. Well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out because I want to know what that is. Okay, we learn things together. I don't give them an illusion that because I'm a parent or I'm an adult, I just know everything, because then I'm setting them up for failure. But if I know, I share what I know, and they know I'm not going to give them anything that I don't know. I'm not going to talk about something I don't know. I'm going to find out with them, or I'm going to find out ahead of them. I'm going to teach them about it. But what I'm not going to do is pretend I got it all together or that I know everything. But what I will always show is my confidence and my ability to learn. But in being that type of parent, I realized that there were some things I still was not applying that to, for the reason why I was still dealing with self-doubt, why I was dealing with disbelief, why I didn't feel worthy of certain things or to do certain things, why I did not feel adequate or accomplished in life. All this was heavy this week when God was like, you don't really believe that you deserve some of the things that you're getting. I'm trying to give you something, you're having a hard time receiving those things because you don't really believe it. You don't really think of yourself in the way that you should be thinking of yourself. You're not, it's like, you have this skill, that skill, but you're still not looking at yourself the way I see you in the deepest depths of your heart. Because if you were, you wouldn't be so distraught right now. And sometimes when somebody has did something to you in life and they create a trauma, right? But also they create a grief because the way you thought of yourself changed because of what they did. How you felt about this world changed. Your perception of your life completely changed when they hurt you. And so now you live with that because it would cut so deep. It cut you where you had the greatest hope. It cut you where you had the purest faith. It cut you in a place where you never had any doubt before that happened. It cut you so bad. It wasn't a little thing, it was a big thing. It cut so very deep. And now you live in a place from that perspective. Hey girl, what's up, what's up? You live from that perspective. And you've lived with that perspective for so long, you don't even try to do anything outside the box. Your gifts that you knew about yourself, the things that you knew you could do, you lean on so heavy because that's really been your shield. It's really been your place, your protection. That's really been a place of your bubble. That's really been the thing that you used to protect yourself because of the last time when they hurt you. And the thing about it is that was the gift that you enjoyed the most. That was the thing you actually wanted to do the most. And now you lean on your other stuff, but you don't want to deal with that place because to deal with it, it would hurt so bad to expose the wound. But I have to be the messenger today, and I have to tell you, in order for you to have what you want, that dream is attached to the gift that somebody broke you behind. And if you want, that's the only way it's coming. You can do all the little things. You can do all the side jobs. You can do all the little cute little stuff, but it's not enough. It's never really been enough, has it? It's never felt fulfilling. Your heart kept having a hole because the thing that you've been protecting is what's left of the gift, what's left of the dream. And you don't want to share it and you don't want anybody to touch it because like a hurt dog after it gets hit in the street will bite you if you touch its broken ankle. If you touch it, it will bite you. And you bite everybody's head off when they get too close to that area and they don't know why, they don't know what's wrong. Some people are married and their spouse don't even know about some of the wounds that they have. And they know something's wrong because anytime they get close to a certain thing, this is a reaction. This barrier goes up, these walls go up. All of a sudden the guards come out, the attack dogs come out. And with every other thing, they're so loving and so kind, but when I get too close to a certain area, this nameless, voiceless, silent, deadening area in them that has no name. It has no face to you. They start tripping. They start moving around. They start leaving. Let's leave. Let's leave. Let's go over to this place. Let's do something different. They start rearranging the life around the problem, but not changing in the life and facing the problem. Because you can deceive yourself all you want to, make yourself believe that you are changing something because you are rearranging stuff. I could rearrange this furniture in this room all day, but it's never going to change the fact that it's the same furniture. The room can look slightly different, but it's not going to change the fact that it's the same furniture in the room. If you don't face what's going on, that idea cannot be separate from, that dream cannot be separate from the gift. You can't have the baby if there's no mother to carry it. You can't have the dream if you're not willing to face the pain that made you walk away from using that gift that you had, using that ability or that you had because somebody told you weren't good enough, that you admired, that you looked up to. Somebody told you, they mocked you, they made fun of how unique you were in it. They called you dumb, they called you stupid, they were so directly evil, directly mean. Laughed in your face. And you can still hear it. Some people have been physically beat up behind the things they wanted to do. And it changed them. And so while you've been living around the bush, while you've been trying to make a life around it, it just never has been good enough. It's not your husband. It's not your wife. It's that pain. And it's the choice to try to ignore it and trying to find a different way to get what you wanted without facing it. But God showed me that if you want the dream that I gave you, the dream came with the gift. They're Siamese twins. They're inseparable. You can't have one without the other. You have to face the pain and the grief of yourself in that moment, because sometimes it's beyond trauma, just trauma. You're still grieving. And if you haven't really let yourself fully grieve how you identified with who you were back then, you never can get to the space where you could deal with the triggers and the trauma of the grief. Because grief is loss. Trauma is the thing that you go through that continues to trigger how you felt that day when it happened. You cannot avoid the healing. You cannot avoid doing math. You cannot avoid what you feel like you're weak in. Because it's not that you weren't weak. You were weak. It was that you were never able to see your ability in it. But there's been little inklings along the way, hasn't there? There's been little moments along the way where you show some potential in it. And then somebody's like, oh, you can do this. Like, oh, no, I don't. It's just an idea. You brush it off, you blow it off, you shrink. But that's the very thing you have to do and face for your whole world to change. That's the you that deserves to be seen. That's where your freedom is at, caged away, locked behind the grief, the trauma. And it's unfair because it's like, well, I got to deal with it. I didn't even do this to myself. It's unfair. It feels so unfair. And we're not responsible for what people do, but we are accountable. We have to be accountable for who we are. And if you're not going to be fully yourself, God doesn't want to just give you pieces. He wants to give you fullness. He doesn't want to give you a fraction of yourself, like the things that he wants for you. He doesn't want you to give him a fraction of you. He wants to give you that part of you. That's the part of you that he was going to use. That's the part of you that had the prophecy on it. That's the part of you that would sleep and wake up and in the middle of the night dreaming about it. That's the part of you that was being called on. You're like, well, maybe I can do it a different way. No. You don't stop being you because of other people. And if you let what people have done keep you from facing the pain so that you can live freely in your gift, unapologetically, believe me, it can come back. The whimsy, the dreaming, the dancing, the hope, the laughter, the deep belly laugh, all that can come back. It is not lost because it's attached to the gift for the dream. It's attached to it. And you can have it all back. But it's time to grow past the pain. It's time to grow past it. You didn't get to grow past it then. You didn't get to grow up understanding how to handle things like this before. No one showed you what to do, but now you got to grow past it. And the first step is recognizing that I'm believing in a lie. I know it's a lie, but I think it's my truth. And I have to accept that it's not the truth, so it's not my truth. And my truth is that I am. And you almost don't want to say that I am better than that because it hurts. But there are no shortcuts to greatness. There are no shortcuts to being you. You can't avoid the deep pulsating pain inside that you have grown numb to because you've used to living with it for so long. There are no shortcuts to this. There's no shortcut to purpose. Every step is intentional. Every step is by design. It's time to grow past it. It's time to grow up again. It's time to give the broken kid over to God. It's time to be the little kid again. Trust God with the pain. But you're not going to have to go through all the things you went through before to be you. You were robbed. And now it's time to take back everything that was stolen from you. But you're not going to get what you want by avoiding what happened. You're not going to get what you want by only leaning on what you think are your strong abilities. You're not going to get what you want avoiding the fact that you are still grieving the fact that when that happened to you, whatever it was, it shaped the way you looked at the rest of your life. The way you thought changed. Don't let all that be wasted by not facing it, because you can use that to help somebody else, to show them how to get out. But what the wonderful thing about getting out is that you get out the box. No one was made to live in a box. This was live in cages and boxes and locked up, whether it's in real life or inside. But it's time to face those things. We want to be free and have liberty, but we can't skip the steps that it takes to do that. There are no exceptions to this. There are no exceptions. Nobody gets a pass. Nobody gets the exception. It doesn't matter how bad it hurt. I hate to tell you, it does not matter how bad it hurt. No one has it gets the exception. There's no amount of favor or grace that would just be like, well, you don't have to deal with it. Jesus himself, purpose was to die on the cross. One of his purpose. One of his to come teach, show, fulfill the prophecy, save lives. But in order to do that, he had to die. And maybe some of us don't want to die again. We feel like if we try it one more time, we're not going to make it. This time, do it with God. Do it in his timing. Do it in his steps. This is not about rushing anything, but this is an urgent call to all people to become. Now it's time for you to be you. It's an urgent call. And like I said in my last video, my last podcast, it's important, yeah, that we help so many people. But if you don't understand where you are in all of this, you can't really help anybody if you're not truly helping the you that got abandoned, the you that got hurt. You can't really be there. There's no shortcut. You cannot get around this. There's no shortcut. And it's unfair and a disservice to you for you not to find out and experience the dream through the gift that he gave you. It would not be the same dream. It will not be the same thing. You may have a little this and a little that, but you will not feel fulfilled unless you step into and face it. I'm encouraging you to face it. This is just not an easy thing, but it's so possible. And believe me, you may have a couple of days where you just feel off. You may have a couple of days where you feel off and you don't like the feeling, you don't like any of it. But believe me, it doesn't last as long as you think it's going to last. But the storm has to be walked through. You got to get through it. But on the other side is everything that you lost, everything that you thought you can never have back. Identity, as if you never lost it in the first place. But you got to get rid of the rules and regulations that you've laid out for yourself. If you really think about it, there's a lot of things that you don't do because you don't want to deal with that. And that's no way to live. That's no way to live. Well, anyway, that's what I wanted to say. There's just no shortcuts. I hope that you face the things that hurt and that you begin to believe and know the truth in yourself, because God already does. I pray that you don't waste any more time trying to find a different route to the dream, or just a different route to another place that doesn't even belong to you. I hope that you don't continue to believe that you can't be anything more than what you've become. I hope you don't continue to believe that you're going to always be empty. But it is going to take a choice on your part for it to happen. God don't force himself on none of us. He said, choose ye this day who you're going to serve. Are you going to serve your pain, or are you going to serve me? Are you going to put your trauma ahead of me? Are you going to put what they said and what they told you, their lie? Are you going to believe more in it? Or are you going to believe in me? Remember, love and faith is an action where we don't always feel as confident in ourselves. But if we decide to follow through on what God gave us anyway, even when we feel not the most confident, because people make it seem like you got to be so faithful to make anything happen. And when I mean by that, they just make it seem like you just got to really believe 100%, 1,000%. Sometimes you are not sure, but you making up in your mind that I don't really know, but I'm going to try this God's way anyway. I'm going to put what he said before how I feel. Because your feelings will tell you that you're crazy and that you're never going to be this, because that's what the enemy has etched into your heart, etched onto your mind. And so you're going to be fighting that. You're going to fight that feeling. But it doesn't mean that your faith cannot work. When you decide to stand on what God said, regardless of how you feel, that is when you are standing on faith. Because now you're not walking by sight. You're not walking by what you've seen. You're walking by faith. You're deciding to take God at his word anyway. And you can't be easily moved from this. You can't say, oh, this hurt, I'm about to run from this. Don't run, because if you run, you're running from your purpose. You're running from God. You're running from all those things. If you do not face this, there is no other way to get to where you're trying to go. There is no other key. There's many doors, but there's only one key for one door. And you got one key. And it's time to use that key to go in. I don't care about all the keys you collected along the way. I don't care about all the keys you found on the path. None of them work for the door. The one key is the one that has been locked away, that you have not wanted to touch because someone broke the handle, and it's so precious because it's the only one you have. But God says it's time to take it out. It's time to put it in the door and turn the knob. It's time to turn the knob and walk through. It may hurt. The back of the key may cut your finger a little bit. It may be uncomfortable. The door may be a little stubborn, but I guarantee you put that key in there, it's going to come open, because that's the only thing that's going to open your door to your future. You are not going to get there the other way around. You're not going to get there like somebody else. You're not going to get there using a different way, you're not going to, you try to get all the accolades of it. You try to get all the visual things, manifestations, house, car, a certain amount of money in your bank account, but it's irrelevant if you do not get there his way. You're not going to get there your way. You're not going to get there avoiding the pain. You're not going to get there, because behind the pain is the gift that he always intended to use. That is the thing that the enemy has tried to take away from you, your ability to believe in it, not your ability to exercise it. See, that's the thing. It's crazy, huh? That it's been there the whole time, and you thought you lost it. No, he made you blind to it so that you believe that you had no ability. You always had the ability. You never lost the ability. It's all about how you looked at it. And he knows if he can change the way you look at something, he can change the way you decide to move. He can mess with the way you believe. And this is why God says we have to walk by faith and not by sight. This means that even in the light when things are going good, or even in a blinding light when people are trying to deceive you with so many fake friends and all that stuff, or in the darkness when things seem bad, or in the darkness when God is hiding you so people don't see you. God said, I need you to walk by faith and not by sight. I need you to listen for my voice. I need you to listen for my heartbeat. I need you to listen to the way I'm moving. I need you to listen to my footsteps. That's what I need. I need you to close your eyes and hear me. I don't need you to look around at how dark it is or how bright it is. If it's sunny, if it's the sun is setting, if it's raining, if it's thundering, I need you to look for me with your ears. See, even a baby, the baby doesn't see its mother or its father first. What does a baby hear first? The heartbeat of his mother, of their mother, and her voice. So when a baby is born and they hear a voice, they start looking. Because now they're in a new place. They're not where they used to be before. Light has broken forth. There's a lot of sounds, a lot of sensations, a lot of different feelings, and it's crying because it doesn't know what's going on. But then the baby hears the mother's voice. And then if you go skin to skin, it hears the familiar rhythm of the heartbeat. It's not what she looked like that gave him peace. It was the sound of her voice. This place that you've been in has been deadened. It has been soundproofed. So no voice, no noise, for no heart, so that you would not speak, so that the voice of God could not penetrate it. But it can, and it is today. It's time to start hearing again. And I know I'm talking about God's voice and your voice, but if you realize that your gift comes from God, then when you operate in that gift, you hear God through it. So your voice starts sounding like his voice, and your ways start looking like his ways, and your thinking starts looking like his thinking, and he's going to approach you and show you more and more every time. He's going to show you more of your beauty, more of your gifts. He's going to show you where you're wounded. But once you learn the rhythm on how to deal with your fears and deal with your wounds, you start realizing anytime I have a wound or a fear, I'm supposed to go towards it. It becomes a pattern. It becomes a strategy. It starts becoming a witness to greater. Your actual pain and your actual fear starts giving you a telltale sign that, oh, wait a minute. When I see fear trying to silence me, trying to keep me from moving forward, that's the thing I need to tackle. It identifies where your next move needs to go or be when it shows up as fear. When it shows up as a lie. I said this in a podcast before. If you want to find out the truth, listen to the lie. You can't do that. Clearly I can, because you really driving that point home, telling me I can't. You're not capable. I must be very capable, because you are working so hard to make me believe that. Why do you want me to believe that so bad? Like, start questioning what you have been believing when it comes to what you can't do. Why do you believe that? Have you ever thought about why you just run with it? Why you haven't questioned? You just sitting there just believing? Why does that necessarily have to be true? Yes, they hurt you. Yes, they were wrong. Yes, it messed with you. But doesn't mean that you lost your ability or your gift. I don't know. Let me tell you this. This is the enemy used to be called Lucifer in heaven. He's a minister of music, you could say, I guess. And his body supposedly is made of sounds and symbols. And when he was in heaven before he fell, he would go before God. He was the usher of God's presence into the heavenly spaces where the angels were, say God's throne is his throne all by himself, and he's coming into the next room in heaven, and here comes Lucifer, and everybody like, oh, daggone, there go Lucifer right there. That God must be coming. Because anytime we see him, we see God coming. We know God's about to come in the room. Lucifer is supposedly to have stones in his chest. Notice that priests also have stones in their chest. I just want to point that out on their robes or whatever. But anyway, back to the point. He had stones on his chest, and when a lot of God would hit his chest, it would beam out. So not only was his body made of sounds and symbols, but the music also had color. God's light shined throughout the heavens through the stones off of Lucifer's chest. It reflected. He was a mirror. Boom. Boom. Not quite made in his image, but his stones reflected the light of God. So everybody saw him. They saw Lucifer. Lucifer got full of himself and was like, oh, told himself the first lie that he was better than God. That to me still baffles me. Whew. Then he fell, lost his name, but he didn't lose his gift, because if you read, it says that he is the author of all lies, which is a verbal thing, right? He's the prince of the air, not the king, but the prince, meaning he still has authority in this space, right? To influence the air. And if you look at social media and regular media and music and entertainment, there's good things, but there's always this negative thing being pushed. I mean, people love gossip. They say gossip kills. I wonder why speaking something negative can kill something. He told the first lie to Eve, but he used a little bit of the truth, because the lie can't have any effect without a little bit of the truth sprinkled in. The enemy can make a lot of good points. Got to be careful about that. So if he didn't lose his gift to influence the air, why would God take yours away when he says the gift comes without repentance, meaning that it's always yours? It's not the gift that you got to beg for. Gift makes room for us. That territory, it opens up doors for it, puts you on a platform. That's why you can't have the dream without the gift. That's your key to get in the door. And the enemy knows this as true. This is why he continues to use his gift to claim territory. And the territory he's constantly trying to get at is right here. And manifests himself into the world in front of us, so that we will believe the narrative in front of us. If he can get into this space by what he speaks to your ear, the influence, the sound, he's trying to gain territory. But do you know that you can have a gift that can conquer the territory inside? And if he can deaden you to being able to hear that gift or connect to that gifting by what you believe in, then you'll sit there and think you don't have ability that you still have. Because last time I checked, he didn't lose his ability to influence nothing. And let me tell you this also, if he was made to step into a room before God to usher in his presence, do you think that changed either? Anytime you see a lie coming, anytime you see an attack coming, it's a telltale sign that God is on his way. All he knows how to do is run in front of God, because he still hasn't understood the concept that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. And God is Alpha and he's Omega. So no matter how you set the situation up, he's always going to be there. He's always going to be with you. He'll never leave you alone. So while we're sitting here getting caught up in the lie, getting caught up in the fear that overwhelms us, getting caught up in all these things that are happening and attacks and worried about all this stuff, remember that Lucifer only knows how to use his gift to influence the atmosphere. And one of his gifts was knowing how to go before God so he can usher in his presence. And so still to this day, his gift still serves God's purpose. So even in the lie, even in the fear, even in the attack, it still serves the purpose in serving the most high God ever. The most high God and the only true God. He still has to run before God, even in the lie, because his gift is still his gift. And he cannot operate outside of it. He still is who he is. The gift comes without repentance, but he lost his name. but he did not lose his gift. God said, I call you by name. I know you by name. I know you by name. And that's what I call you by. If it wasn't important, your name, he wouldn't have gave it to you. If it wasn't important to have a name, Lucifer wouldn't have lost his and just be called the enemy of God. You don't even call him that. But what he still does is run before God with a lie. Run before God with a negative message. Run before God because he knows the nature of God. So he tries to emulate. But it's a telltale sign that God is on his way. He's showing up without a shadow of a doubt when you are faced with a lie to discourage you, when you are faced with an attack, when fear tries to overwhelm you, you are most definitely on the right path, and you most definitely are a threat to the agenda of the enemy to use his gift to gain territory in God's kingdom. And if we are the church, the people, this is where he is seeking his territory in our minds, in our hearts. And he's trying to ransack our lives to justify the lie he implanted. You are more than a conqueror, and you are wonderful and fearfully made. Remember that. Well, I gotta go. I thank y'all for listening. I thank y'all for all the people who showed up today. Thank you for your time. I just want y'all to remember that. I just want you to remember those words. You are wonderful and fearfully made. That's it. I'm going to go. That's it. Love you. Love you all. Thank you.